Sup geeks, it's your boy Justin Prince.
I'm Riri.
And I'm Matt from the Oatmeal.
How you doing, Matt?
Pretty
good. Very
good.
nice to meet you. I've always followed your comics. It's you know, cats.
Well, there's more than just cats, right? It started off as like dolphins.
Yeah, well,
horses.
There's like
all the stuff.
horse boners and stuff. Like horse boners. I mean, it's. I used to write about that in the beginning. It's evolved now. The beginning of the Oatmeal was really, a lot of it was just non sequiturs. It was random. It was, I don't have it in here, but it was like, how to tell if your family's plotting to eat you.
Right.
It was just nonsense, and but it was fun, and it was attractive to read. But over the past couple of years, it's changed.
So speaking of all the old stuff, what actually got you into starting your own?
I used to build websites for a living, and I basically stopped wanting to work for clients. I wanted to build my own website where I could make my own living. So I built an online dating website of all things. I used comics to market it. Comics became way more popular than the dating site, so I thought, why run the dating site? So I sold it and I started the Oatmeal. So I came at this from a weird perspective that I was an entrepreneur and a designer and a developer trying to market something. And anyway, that's sort of how it began.
Oh, that's great. Do you draw your own comics, is that right? All the characters and the stories. What is your, I guess, creative thought process? Do all that? Do you continue to draw every day, or you write down ideas?
It's all over the place, to tell you the truth. It's like trying to tell you how I plan each meal every day. You know, it just kind of happens randomly. I do keep a lot of notebooks, dozens and dozens of notebooks full of ideas. Sometimes I just keep the ideas in my head. Sometimes I will sketch out an entire comic on paper, or the outline for it, not the art, and flesh it out when I draw it. Other times I will write it as I draw it, so there's really no pattern, and there's actually nothing to learn from that question because it's just chaotic for me.
Okay.
So people ask me, and I'm like, I don't know.
Whenever it comes,
it's bananas. So.
Yeah. So
it's a random question actually I thought to myself, since you said it was random and it comes to you at random times. Was there ever like a weird moment that something just struck you? Like, you know, you were just in the middle of your car and you didn't have a pen with you, or you were in the bathroom and you're like, oh, hurry up!
Well, I've actually wrote a comic about that where I talk about how creativity isn't something you control. I refer to it as food poisoning. It just sprays out of you when you need it the least. And with me, I found with creativity, I can't harness it and hone it or train it and break it. It just shows up. So oftentimes what I do is I think intensely about things, and I read a lot of fiction, I read a lot of non-fiction, I read the comics, and hours, days, weeks, months later, those ideas turn into something that I can use, and that's creativity. So usually it happens when I'm showering, when I'm running, when I'm going to the restroom, when I'm looking at something. You know, it's never when I'm at my desk with coffee and a pen. Ideas don't show up there. They show up when you don't.
It'd be nice if that was the way it was, huh?
Yeah, I wish I could, like mine for ideas, like an ore, but it doesn't work that way. It's more like a rain that falls from the sky. I'm full of really good analogies, by the way. I'm just an analogy machine.
You mentioned earlier you read comics. What kind of comics do you like to read?
I only read webcomics. I don't read graphic novels. Nothing wrong with them, I just don't read them.
Webcomics?
Some of my recent favorite I've been reading is a lot of Mr. Lovestein. It's really funny. I'm a huge fan of Saturday Morning Breakfast Cereal and Reading of Dave. Harry Potter Fellowship is, in my opinion, the best webcomic ever made. Even though he doesn't update as often anymore, but he's still, I think, one of the pure geniuses.
Oh, I actually wanted to ask your most recent book, How to Kill How Your Cat is Plotting to Kill You?
Yeah.
Why cats? What started you on that topic?
I don't know. I think I had a lot of cats growing up, so there's a lot of channeling that. And I just started making cat comics, and it was easy because it's like, you don't need a punchline if there's a cat in it.
Yeah.
But that was my last cat comic was years ago, and I don't think I could ever write another cat comic again. I think I'm done with cats.
I saw a book that for dogs. Is that news?
No. Cat book is my second oldest book. Next one was the dog book, and the latest one is White Grizzly Bear Short Underpants.
Okay.
And that one is just a collection of Oatmeal. It's like the best of an Oatmeal from a year's worth of comics.
Oh, nice.
So there's really no theme to it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Speaking of cats, though, did you? I know I'm getting on back to more cats. Did you expect that all of a sudden that now that you're writing about cats, and some people are getting into your comic, they love cats, they start telling you all about their cat, everything that Fluffy Mitten says, and everything that peanut butter does.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I did it to myself. I wrote a book about cats, and I complain when people talk to me about their cat. I wrote a sign at this Comic-Con that said, if you tell me about your cat, I'll draw penises and penises for arms instead of whatever you asked me for. And the sign worked.
So people didn't tell you about their cat?
No, I mean, they did. Some of them did, but then they got penises in their books. So their 9-year-old son looked really bereaved, I guess, that's the right word, morose maybe, and confused.
Oh, what's that?
But that's their fault, you know? You tell me about your cat and you get dicks. Lots of dicks. I have plenty of dicks in my mind.
Oh God.
Hell, like all things.
Now, you mentioned that you read a lot of fiction and nonfiction. Recently, what was some of those interesting stories you've read, whether fiction or nonfiction, that could have either inspired stories or just even for leisure to keep your mind and your creative juices kind of flowing?
I read The Sirens of Titan. It was Kurt Vonnegut. I think it's his second book, maybe. It's really good comedy, really creative. It's about Mars invading Earth, but it's completely fucking it up. Like, they don't know what they're doing, and it's just sad and hilarious. It was really good, and it sort of spurred me into wanting to write sci-fi, even though I've tried writing sci-fi and it's really bad. As far as nonfiction goes, reading a lot of kind of long histories of the Earth. So, for example, I read a book about how it talked mostly about how the human body has formed based on the history of our Earth, in terms of how far the moon is from us, how much heat we have on this planet, that kind of thing. And that's stuff I find people channeled into informational comics and essays. Because a lot of my stuff now isn't even comics; it's more like an essay. Like I did one about Christopher Columbus, and there's like no illustrations. You know, it's mostly an essay. So that's what I'm more interested in writing, rather than poop jokes and cat jokes and sriracha jokes. I'd rather write stuff that has an educational side to it.
So you want to move on to like writing books and novels, maybe, right?
Yeah, I don't know if I'll ever do a novel. Like I said, I've been trying to write novels lately, just sci-fi for fun, and they're so bad. I'm like, this is really hard. My strength is not in my art at all, it's in my writing.
Yeah.
So I always assumed that this art was like a burden, like, oh, I have to draw for me. I wish I could just focus on the writing, that's what I'm good at. So then when I wrote a book where it's all writing, I'm like, wow, I wish I could just draw what I'm trying to describe right now. It's like impossible. Like his hand goes on the table and grips the table. And I can't just draw the guy gripping the table. I have to describe his fingers. I have to, you know, there's a lot of work involved in writing a book. I didn't know that. So it's
It can be very tough. It can be very tough.
yeah, I write, my books read like shitty Michael Bay movies. Like movies Michael Bay wouldn't direct. It's too shitty for me, which is...
No.
Yeah, they're pretty bad. They're pretty bad.
You know, I actually would want to read that. I think that might be actually a hoot to read.
Yeah, have you finished any of?
No, I get angry at them and I quit after 20 pages of them. I got lots of false starts at this point.
Well, with that short stories. Maybe.
Yeah, that's true.
Or it could be a book called False Starts, and every single chapter is an unfinished story. You're like, oh, and then, oh, fuck this.
I've just talked to 500 people in a row today, and I think that's probably the best advice anyone said to me today. So that idea, False Starts by the Oatmeal.
Yeah,
A
right?
series of shitty sci-fi books I did not finish.
Right, yeah. I'd buy it.
Yeah.
I would buy it too, just with the sense that, you know, I helped you with the idea, but also because that would be hilarious to read.
Yeah.
What if someone really gets into the story and they're like, oh my god, what happens to the characters and the people and the thing? Nope, never gonna find out.
Have
You quit.
books and have people be like, we want you to continue this.
Yeah, something to consider.
So, do you have any? I know your thought process is like really chaotic, but you think about. Are you able to reveal what your next idea is?
Yeah, I plan
After the
ahead.
grizzly bear?
Yeah, like, my next big thing is running. So I wrote a running comic, started a marathon, and I wrote a running book. I've spent the past 4 months writing and drawing a running book about running, sleeping, lurching, eating, napping, apathy, just the general human condition of me, which is to be as lazy as possible at all times and to suffer for it.
Right.
And so I wrote a book about that, and that's my next book. And that's I'm really proud of it. I don't know. It's something different because most of my other books are, like I said, a lot of them are just there's not a lot of theme. It's just random comics put together. My Dog Paradox one is the other one I'm really proud of because it's an actual. There's a bit of a narrative, and it's not just a random collection.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. What's the deal with the hot sauce, the cock sauce, the sriracha sauce?
I wrote a sriracha comic as like this open love letter to sriracha.
Yeah.
Apparently everybody else thought it was their secret lover too, and it just took off and it became kind of a meme.
I think a lot of people love the merchandise you have out. You have posters, pins, greeting cards. water bottles, socks. Really?
Yeah, running socks.
That's cool.
Yeah, they have little birches on them.
That's cool.
They're cool.
Pins and stuff. Do you actually have any? Are you gonna expand on that, like other types of merchandise?
Yeah, we want to do more plushies because we only have 2, and we want to do a Lurch plushie. And other than that, probably just the usual stuff, prints here and there. Books have kind of become the driving force behind everything, so that's definitely my priorities.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So.
I definitely would go for the plushies.
Yeah.
Just saying.
I had a lot of requests today for like a lot of plushies. Like someone wanted a sriracha bottle plushie.
Oh.
Yeah, I was like, okay. Well, actually, a girl down there made one at one point. It was pretty cute. So.
From one geek to another, especially how we keep ourselves fit, and someone who is creative and contributes to geek culture, I think that you're the perfect kind of person we can deem a lifted geek.
Thank you.
Thanks, Matt.
You're welcome.
That was Matt from the Oatmeal. Once again, we were Lifted Geek. Get lifted, everybody.
See ya.